we're back with Dr. Meichenbaum, who would like to talk to us in his unique style about another fascinating topic.
So thanks again for having me, and thank all of those who are taking the time to review the materials I put together for my 5-day workshops. You know, as I mentioned at the end of last, I'm in my generativity phase. So let me just make a few introductory observations about the nature of resilience. As I highlighted in the personal story about my wife, in the aftermath of traumatic events, victimizing experiences, most people are impacted. But 75% of people, even though they've had significant losses, will go on and evidence some form of ability to bounce back, some kinds of strength, some kind of resilience. And about 25% of the people keep score. And there is a danger in this area of trauma and resilience. And I've highlighted this in an article recently with Scott Lillefeld, who was a colleague who unfortunately died. And we wrote an article about how to spot hype in the field of psychotherapy. And the field of psychotherapy is actually filled with BS, bullshit, and exaggerated claims, a lot of psychobabble, neurobabble. And in fact, trauma area is particularly open to this kind of exposure of the absence of evidence-based interventions. And over the course of my professional career, I've had opportunities to actually debate Bessel van der Kolk, who's written this bestseller called The Body Keeps Score. And he highlights some of the ways in which exposure, especially cumulative adverse childhood experiences and re-victimization, affects the structure and function of the brain and other kind of bodily processes. But here's the good news that I want you to take away as you study my notes, and that is that the body also keeps score of the 75% of individuals. That engaging in resilience engendering behavior can affect the nature and structure of the brain. In fact, there's even data that engaging in resilience engendering behavior can affect gene expression. You could be resilient in one domain and not in other domains. You could be resilient at one time in your life and not at other times. And that, in fact, resilience and trauma or grief can coexist. These are not mutually exclusive categories. And as I highlight in the Roadmap to Resilience book, everybody has the potential of bolstering their resilience. Apropos of Dan's kind comments, I believe that each of us are not only Homo sapiens, but each of us are also Homo narrans. And what is a Homo narran? A Homo narran is a storyteller, okay? So obviously, I, not only in these Zoom presentations, but also in my therapy, am a storyteller. And I would suggest that what distinguishes the 25% who get stuck and the 75% who go on is the nature of the stories they tell themselves and others and the accompanying coping responses. So you will see that I have embraced a kind of constructive narrative perspective of therapy, where I, as a therapist, try to have the patient tell their story of how they came to therapy and what do they think is causing their problems and what do they think will cause them to change and how could I be of help in that assistance. So I think your most valuable tool is indeed your art of questioning, your guided discovery process. And I enumerate in this handout a whole variety of constructive narrative therapeutic approaches that you might want to embrace. Once again, I think that when we look at the 25% of therapists who get 50% better results and have 50% fewer dropouts, we need to keep in mind that the quality and nature of the therapist's therapeutic alliance with the client is the most significant variable in predicting outcome, and that there's a critical need to get session by session feedback on how good you're doing in that therapeutic alliance. What am I saying? I'm saying that the handouts that I have provided, and moreover, if you go to the Melissa Institute, which I encourage you to do so, and click on Resilience Resources, you will find many other papers by myself. I hope both these presentation and the additional material I have provided will represent something that you will find meaningful and productive. Once again, thank you for your interest, and I commend you on your good judgment in being here.
Thank you so much for your contribution and for your hard work. Thank you.